I found out the man I loved was dating me on a dare. 10 years later, he walked into my diner with a ring. They say first love hits you like a storm. Mine rolled in wearing cowboy boots and a cocky smile, holding a soda can like it was a beer. "You're the girl from the diner, right?" That's the first thing Mason Wolf ever said to me. I was 17, working weekends at my family's roadside diner in western Kentucky, the kind of place that served greasy breakfast to truckers and peach pie to high school kids who thought 11 p.m. was the edge of the world. He was the golden boy, quarterback, prom king, town heartthrob, the kind of guy girls pretended not to look at just so he'd look back. I didn't play that game. He sat at the counter and watched me refill coffee for 3 hours before finally talking to me. And when he did, it wasn't small talk. It was intent. By the end of that shift, I'd scribbled my number on a napkin and handed it over with shaking fingers. I didn't know that somewhere, just out of earshot, a group of his friends were laughing, one of them whispering, "I bet you can't make her fall for you." I didn't know it was a game. Not yet. The next 6 months were everything a girl in a small town dreams of. He picked me up in his rusted red truck, windows down, music too loud. We kissed under bleachers, slow danced in his garage, carved our names into the oak tree behind my house. He told me he loved me. I said it back. When I got into art school in Nashville, he told me to go. Swore he'd wait. Swore we were real. I left that fall, carrying only 2 things, my sketchbook and a heart full of him. 2 weeks later, I found out the truth. My best friend Jenna called me crying, said there was a video, one of his friends had posted it. Mason, drunk at a bonfire, slurring through a laugh. "Told y'all I could do it. Small town girl falls for the big shot. She didn't even see it coming." They clapped. Someone shouted, "That napkin trick was genius." He bowed. I couldn't breathe. I didn't call him. I didn't text. I blocked his number, dropped out of school 2 months later, and came home with my tail between my legs, humiliated, bitter, and pregnant. Yeah, I was pregnant. I never told him. Never told anyone but my mama, who held me on the bathroom floor the night I found out and said, "You don't owe him anything. You owe you everything." So I kept the baby. I raised my son, Eli, above the diner in the same room I grew up in. I worked 3 jobs, drew in the margins of receipts, watched every football game alone just in case I saw his face on the screen. But I never did. Mason Wolf disappeared like he'd never existed until 10 years later, when he walked into my diner, holding a ring. I almost didn't recognize him at first. He looked older, of course. Leaner, a few gray strands in that smug brown hair, the kind of tired that doesn't come from work, the kind that grows in the spaces between regrets. He stepped into the diner like it was sacred ground, like he expected it to remember him. The bell over the door jingled, and I turned, rag in hand, wiping down a booth, and froze. My fingers tightened around the cloth. I felt my stomach coil, the way it used to in Nashville when I walked into a class unprepared. Only worse. More primal. He saw me. His eyes lit up. "Maya," he said, like the name still fit in his mouth. I didn't speak, just stared. It felt like a movie, not the romantic kind. The kind where the villain shows up in Act 3 with a secret and a smile. "You cut your hair," he said, walking closer. I had. Years ago, after Eli was born. A part of me had thought, if I shed who I was, maybe I'd stop missing who I thought we were. "You grew a conscience?" I asked, deadpan. He laughed. A laugh, like this was funny. "No, but I thought about you. A lot." That made me flinch. "I need to talk to you," he added. "I don't think you do." "Please," he said. "Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." I crossed my arms. The diner was empty except for a couple in the back arguing over a crossword puzzle, and old man Higgins passed out over his grits. He slid into the booth where he first kissed me 10 years ago. I sat across from him, legs stiff, hands cold. "I'm sorry," he said. "Not for what, not how, just that." "You played me," I replied. "I was a bet, a joke." "I know. You told me you loved me." "I did." My lip curled. "No, you don't get to say that." "I was 18 and an idiot," he said, voice quieter now. "And I never told anyone what happened after. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Maya, but I didn't know how to say that without admitting I'd started it all wrong. You didn't try. I didn't think I deserved to." And then he pulled it out. The ring box. I laughed. Actually laughed. "You seriously think a ring fixes this?" He opened the lid. Inside wasn't a diamond. It was a locket. I blinked. It was small. Gold. Worn like it had been handled 100 times. I knew it wasn't new. He slid it toward me. "I've been carrying this for 8 years, he said. "It's not for you. It's for him. Your son." My blood froze. "How do you know?" He looked up. "Because I saw his photo on your mom's Facebook last month, and he has my eyes." I pushed back from the booth so hard the seat scraped the floor. "You don't get to claim him," I hissed. "You lost that right the second you turned me into a goddamn dare." "I'm not claiming anything," he said. "I'm just here because I want to know him. If he'll let me." I was shaking. It was one thing to carry a heartbreak. It was another to let the man who caused it anywhere near the only pure thing you ever created. "You'll never use him to clean your conscience," I said. "Ever." "I'm not trying to," Mason said. "But I missed the first 10 years. I don't want to miss the rest." I walked away. Didn't say yes, didn't say no. But when I got home that night, Eli was sitting on the floor drawing with crayons. I looked at him, that heart-shaped face, those hazel eyes that haunted me. And I realized he did have Mason's eyes, but he had my heart. And I wasn't sure which one he'd need more. The locket stayed in my coat pocket for 3 days. I didn't touch it, didn't open it, didn't tell Eli. but I kept it. And that scared me more than anything, because it meant a door I swore I'd welded shut was cracked, just enough for light, or rot, to sneak in. On Wednesday, Eli came home from school buzzing. "Mom, guess what? I got picked for the science fair." He was all elbows and dimples and oversized excitement. "That's amazing, baby," I said, forcing a smile. "What's your project?" "Volcanoes," he said proudly. "But not just lava. I'm doing it about tectonic plates, too. Mr. Jennings said it's very ambitious." He said the word like it tasted sweet. I knelt to help him untie his sneakers. "You know who else was ambitious?" I said, keeping my voice steady. Your biological dad." His head jerked up. "My what?" I exhaled. "The man who helped bring you into this world. You've never met him. But he came into the diner the other day." Eli stared at me, his face suddenly unreadable. A strange mix of curiosity and something older than he should have known. "You mean he's alive?" The question broke something in me. "Yes," I said softly. "He is." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "Does he want to meet me?" I bit my lip. "He says he does." Eli nodded slowly. "Is he a bad person?" And there it was. The question I couldn't answer. The question only he could ask. I agreed to one meeting, public, safe, no expectations. I told Mason if he cried or tried to hug him too fast, I'd throw hot coffee in his lap. I wasn't joking. He showed up early, wore a collared shirt, brought a secondhand copy of The Magic School Bus Explores the Human Body and a pack of Eli's favorite sour gummies. I watched them through the window of the community library cafe. Mason bent down to Eli's eye level, said something that made him smile. They talked for 40 minutes, about dinosaurs, math, and favorite YouTubers. Mason didn't force anything, didn't overshare, just listened. When it was over, Eli came out and said, "He's not what I imagined." I knelt. "Good or bad?" "Neither," he said. "Just not fake." And that somehow was the most hopeful thing I'd heard in years. I still hated him some days, especially when Eli asked questions I didn't want to answer, like, "Why didn't you tell him about me?" Or worse, "Did you love him?" I told him the truth. Yes, once. No, I didn't tell him because I thought he didn't deserve to know, because he hurt me, and because I was scared. "Do you still love him?" Eli asked once, curling beside me under a blanket. I didn't answer, because love doesn't just disappear, but it changes. It warps and breaks and softens into something else. I didn't love Mason the way I had, but I no longer loved hating him either. It was late one night, months later, after another science fair, silver medal, a school play, he was the funniest tree, and an ice cream trip when Eli forgot his jacket in Mason's car. He offered to drop it off. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "You didn't run," I said. "Not once." "I didn't want to." I nodded. "I need to know," I said, voice shaking. "Did you ever love me, back then? Even when it started as a dare?" He looked at me with a grief I hadn't seen before, the kind that's lived in a person's bones for years. "I think I loved you more than I knew how to show," he said, "and I hated myself for what I did. That's why I left." "Not good enough," I whispered. "I know." He turned to go, then stopped. "If Eli ever wants more than just visits, I'll be here." And he walked off into the night. No ring, no locket, no pressure, just silence. 6 months passed. The visits became regular, every other Saturday. We had rules. Mason wasn't allowed to pick Eli up from school. No unsupervised overnights, no birthday photos on social media, no pretending the past didn't happen. And I didn't tell Eli about the locket. It stayed in its box, hidden in the back of my dresser, next to old ultrasound prints and hospital bracelets. Because whatever this was now, it wasn't a fairy tale, and I wasn't a girl waiting to be chosen anymore. It was unplanned. We were walking home from the farmer's market, Eli between us, arms full of strawberries and mangoes. He tripped, skinning his knee, tears bursting from his eyes, and without thinking, he cried, "Dad!" The word made my heart stop. Mason froze too. Then calmly, he knelt beside Eli and held him, not as someone entitled to the word, but as someone stunned by it. Later, after the Band-Aid and the snack and the long nap, I asked Eli about it. He shrugged. "I guess it just came out. He's not like the dads in my class, but he's trying. That counts, right?" I couldn't argue with that. One Friday, Eli asked if Mason could stay for dinner. I blinked. "You mean eat here?" Eli gave me that tired tween look. "Yeah, Mom, like humans do." So we had pasta. Mason brought garlic bread. Eli lit a candle and called it a family vibe. We laughed more than I expected, talked about Eli's science obsession, Mason's failed attempt at baking banana bread, and my recent promotion at the diner to assistant manager. At one point, I caught Mason looking at me, not with longing, but something softer, familiar, respect maybe. We didn't become a couple again, not in the way people imagine. No Instagram announcements, no candlelit beach proposal. But we became something else, something steady. Eli's father, my co-parent, my friend, and over time, something more. He didn't ask me to wear the locket. He left it with me. A choice, not a demand. And I started wearing it because love didn't have to look like it used to. It could grow, change, breathe, and I could choose it on my terms. I didn't forget how he broke me, but I remembered how I rebuilt myself. And maybe that's the only kind of love I trust now, one that survives the truth, one that chooses to stay after silence.